let's start with a truth that's kind of hard to swallow. You are going to carry a heavy yoke your entire life. There's just no escaping it. See, you don't get to choose whether you're burdened, you only get to choose which burden you carry. And here's the real paradox. Trying to lighten your load, trying to shrug it all off, it only makes your life heavier. Okay, so let's dive right into this with the sage who laid out this brutally honest truth, Rabbi Nechunya ben HaKanah. He said, whoever accepts upon himself the yoke of Torah, the yoke of government, and the yoke of worldly cares are removed from him. And whoever casts off the yoke of Torah, the yoke of government, and the yoke of worldly cares are placed upon him. Did you catch that? There's no third option. There's no unburdened, carefree life on the menu. You are either carrying the weight of purpose, or you are going to get crushed by the weight of the world. So the whole point isn't about finding some escape from life's pressures. It's about choosing the one pressure that actually liberates you from all the others. Now that image of a yoke, it's agricultural, right? You picture an ox yoked to a plow, this heavy wooden beam across its neck, basically dictating its every move. What Rabbi Nechunya is saying is, you are the ox. Something is always pulling you. The only real choice you have is what you're attached to. So let's just look at this choice side by side. On one side, you accept the yoke of Torah, a life of commitment, meaning, spiritual discipline. And what's the result? Well, those other yokes, the anxieties about your job, your finances, your endless obligations, they start to lose their power over you. But on the other side, you cast all that off to free yourself up. And what happens? Those exact same worldly yokes are immediately placed right back on your shoulders. Only now, they're heavier than before. Rabbi David Rosenfeld explains this with a really stunning concept he calls preordained toil. Just think about that for a second. There is a set amount of struggle we are all destined to endure. You can't get out of it. So, you know when you say, I'm just too busy for spiritual practice, and you cut it out to make more time for work? Well, the universe just balances the equation. The work expands, the stress multiplies, and all that anxiety just fills every gap you tried to create. You didn't gain any freedom, you just traded one yoke for a much, much worse one. And here's where it gets really interesting. There's this amazing little bit of Hebrew wordplay the sages point out. The word for engraved on the tablets of the Ten Commandments is harut. But if you just change the vowels a little bit, you get the word cherut, which means freedom. Get it? The commitment is the liberation. The structure is the very thing that sets you free. But this whole principle of choosing your yoke, it doesn't just apply to your 9 to 5 or your formal study time. No, it follows you into the most ordinary, everyday places, like, say, your dinner table. Let's see how this exact same choice plays out there. So, Rabbi Shimon comes along and asks a question that is just incredibly provocative. I mean, wow. He forces us to look at a simple meal and see it as this high-stakes event. Every single time you sit down to eat with other people, you are making a choice. Here's his teaching in full. He says, 3 who eat at one table and do not speak words of Torah over it, it is as if they ate from sacrifices to the dead. But 3 who eat at one table and do speak words of Torah over it, it is as if they ate from the table of the omnipresent. I mean, the language here is intentionally shocking. Sacrifices to the dead? He's talking about pagan idol worship. Why so harsh? Because his point is that there is no neutral ground. A meal is either elevated, turning your table into an altar before God, or it just defaults to being pure animal consumption. It's nothing. One word of Torah, one single meaningful thought shared, transforms the entire experience. And you might be wondering, why 3 people specifically? Well, a commentator known as the Tifris Yisrael explains that if it's just 1 or 2 people, you might be busy, you might be distracted. But a group of 3 that has intentionally sat down to share a meal, come on, they clearly have the time. They made a choice to gather, and the verdict on that gathering depends entirely on what they choose to fill it with. Okay, so we've seen how this applies to our work and our social lives. But what about when we're all alone? This is where Rabbi Chanina ben Chachinai takes us into our most private moments, the quiet of the night, a solitary journey, and he reveals that they are actually the most charged, the most potent moments of all. So here's the teaching. One who stays awake at night, or walks alone on the road, and turns his heart to idleness, he is liable for his own life. Now, sure, the surface meaning is about physical danger. Of course, if you're not alert in these vulnerable situations, you're at risk. But there's a much deeper tension going on here. Are these quiet moments just dangerous, something to get through, or are they actually the most precious opportunities we have? This is where the teaching really turns a corner.
Because at night, the world's distractions fade. On a solitary road, you're free from social obligations. These are the moments that are perfectly suited for real, deep thought. And this just brilliantly illustrates a point made by the great sage Rambam. He called these moments itim nichbadim, which means glorious times. Yeah, you heard that right. Your 3 a.m. insomnia, your long commute in the car, your quiet walk home. These aren't just throwaway moments you have to endure. He says they are the most honored opportunities of your entire life to connect with God. To waste them on idle thoughts, on scrolling or worrying, it's to forfeit your own soul. Now, I know, all of this can start to feel overwhelming. Every meal has to be sacred. Every quiet moment has to be filled with purpose. It sounds like a lot of pressure. But right here, the Talmud delivers maybe the most encouraging teaching in this entire sequence. It shows us just how accessible the solution really is.
So Rabbi Chalafta ben Dosa of Kfar Chanina, he explains that the Shekinah, the divine presence, rests among those who engage with Torah. And then he starts this incredible countdown that just changes everything. He starts with 10? Okay, 10 people studying together? Of course the divine presence is there. That's a minyan, a full congregation, makes perfect sense. No surprise there. But then he says, how do we know it's there even for 3? Because it's said of a court of judges. Okay, so the presence is still there in a smaller, more official group. We're getting closer. Then he asks, what about just 2? Yes, 2 friends. Just talking, sharing some words of Torah. God listens and hears. Wow. The scale gets so much smaller, more intimate. You can feel the pressure lessening. And then, this is the climax. He asks, how do we know even for 1? Because the verse says, in every place where I cause my name to be mentioned, I will come to you and bless you. 1 person. Sitting all alone. You don't need a study group. You don't need a synagogue. The divine presence literally scales all the way down to meet you, right where you are. So what does this all mean for us, right now? Well, when you weave these 4 teachings together, they don't hand you a list of 1,000 new things you have to do. Instead, they offer a map, a way to transform the very moments you're already living and reorient your entire life. Let's just break it down. 1, your work. Remember Rabbi Nechunya's lesson. Choose the yoke that gives you meaning, not the one that just grinds you down. 2, your meals. Follow Rabbi Shimon. Make your table an altar, not a tomb. Just 1 meaningful word can do it. 3, your solitude. Heed Rabbi China's warning and use those glorious times for connection, not for empty idleness. And finally, number 4, your starting point. Remember Rabbi Chalafta's promise. You can start right now, by yourself. God will meet you. And that brings us right back to the very beginning. The choice is not whether you will carry a burden. Life ensures that you will. The yoke is already on your shoulders, right now. The only question left is, which one is it? Which one have you chosen?